My name is Howard Egerman. I'm from Oakland, California. I'm a union representative and for the Social Security Administration in beautiful East Oakland, California. And I take claims. And what happened is when I first started working in 1973, we just wrote everything. We just hand wrote everything. And then gradually we became mechanized. So there was no PCs when I first started, and we used typewriters and adding machines and everything else. And as a result of the mechanization, they had improvements in furniture. But I worked in an inner city office, East Oakland, California, and we got everything last. So I did not get adjustable furniture or anything. We just had computers plopped on our desk. And I ended up, I think it's about 97, 98, with first they thought it was tendonitis, then DeQuervain, then carpal tunnel, and then that started my journey in getting operations. So I did all of that, but I have not stopped working. So I've continued to work since then. And one of the reasons why I did is when I became injured, I started reading everything I could about RSI, repetitive strain injury. And I read these two great books by Deborah Quilter. And I basically started, I knew wrote her, and Deborah wrote me back, but started believing in this concept called the hand bank. And what I try to do is work each day, but I try to rest my hand as much as I could to be able to work another day. So I've been able to basically attempt to have a full career.
Big congratulations on continuing to work, Howard. That's a huge deal. So I notice you're wearing a lot of ribbons around your neck, Howard. What is that all about?
And basically, and I also have trouble reaching because my hands really do not work and I drop everything. So I wear my keys. And also, I'm wearing my bus pass. I can't drive anymore. And instead of having to reach for it, I just basically put it on the slot to get on the bus. So I wear everything as a result. One thing I could not do is I could not tie my shoes. And people said, well, you know, these kids, they use Velcro. So I use Velcro for my shoes. But that was one of the problems I had.
Oh, tell me what happened that you can't drive, Howard. Why is that?
I have DeQuervain's disease, and I just can't turn. In other words, I could drive as long as I stayed straight, but I cannot turn a car. So what I basically did is I started my life as a rapid transit rider. When I'm a union representative, so I use BART, our subway, and I use the bus. So I go to work and by bus, and I tell my management people, it's going to take me a while to get there to do an inspection or represent somebody, but I will get there. And I've also told other people too that you should have representatives who are over 65 because we're cheaper on mass transit. In other words, it only costs me $34 and I can ride wherever I want to in Oakland.
So you've really figured things out. You gained things out for yourself so that you can still work because you can maneuver mass transit. But
Right.
Tell, for people who don't know what DeQuervain's disease is, can you tell us why it's hard for you to turn and what other activities might be difficult for you? Maybe turning a doorknob or something else that might be difficult.
It's hard. I can't really turn things like basically a doorknob. I cannot do things like turn a steering wheel. You know, certain things like opening a can, anything like that. You know, I don't have to worry about really doing too much cooking or something like that. But when I testified at OSHA, I wrote to different people, and I was really upset about some of the young women who responded about feeling that they were basically failures as moms because they could not cook, they could not stir things, they could not vacuum, they could not do a lot of things that I did not do. But one of the reasons I did not do it because I was just a man, so I got by with not doing it. So I felt really upset about this, and I told it the people I testified at both OSHA and Cal OSHA for ergonomic standard about that affects your entire life. But what I try to do is just make do the best I can. But we drop things. I drop things all the time, and that's a problem too. And I got in trouble once or twice. Like I bought my wife something for Taco Bell, and I dropped the stuff like that. And then yesterday I had an interview, so I got the management to move the computer for me and dock it for me. That's just an example of the problem that I have. I think it's a 5 or 10 pound lifting restriction too. So I use that when I can, but I've been able to depend on reasonable accommodation to handle issues like that.
And do you think that your ability to work has been as a result of being so knowledgeable about the work rules?
Yes, I do. In other words, I'm a union rep, and I would tell people, like the old hair club for men commercial, I'm not just a workers' compensation representative. I am on workers' comp myself. So that's what I will tell people. And what I try to do is help people who have computer issues. And I always recommend your books, by the way. So I would say, read Deborah's books, and the whole thing that I also mentioned, the part about feelings, that section on your emotions has meant a lot to me in my life as well, because you think about things you cannot do. But sometimes I think about how I used to be able to drive, or I used to be able to do something else. And then I think, well, there's another way of doing it. In other words, I'm still a union rep. I'm still attempting to do my job. I'm still able to go to places. Like I inspected the city. I was accidentally born in San Francisco last week, took BART. So I felt good that I can do that.
I'm really happy that you said that, Howard, because I think it's good for people to find the gifts that they still have and what they can still enjoy, and not let RSI completely ruin their life, because a lot of people get very, very depressed, and it's understandable. It is. But the fact that you can deal with these things and in a positive way, I think will probably be inspiring to other people.
I don't know if it's inspiring, but I just managed, what I try to do is try to get by. It's the same way they mention to people with addiction, one day at a time. Because I think most of us who have RSI are type A personalities. In other words, I want to work. And the problem with the pandemic showed me that I don't want to retire. And in other words, it just drove me crazy, because sometimes my wife would tell me to do certain things or things like that, because I'm home. So at least that I'm at work, I don't have to do them. And, I just don't like being at home 5 days a week.
I'm glad that you talked about wanting to work, because I think virtually all of the people who've contacted me for help over the years have really wanted to work. And I'm not sure they're all type A personalities. They just love working. They love being productive citizens, contributing to society and that sort of thing. So I think that's a really good point. And I think when you can't work, as you just said, being, having a taste of what it might be like to be retired isn't something that you're interested in.
Right. Well, what it is, and I gave a talk at the workers' compensation conference, and I just mentioned that people usually think of those of us who are injured as people who just want to get paid and go to the beach and just hang out. And that is not the case at all, because I'm just like the person in the song Center Field, put me in coach. I want to play center field. Well, put me in coach, I want to work.
Well, is there anything else that you'd like to tell people about repetitive strain injury? Is there anything you wish you had known?
Well, I wish I would have known to really take more breaks. In other words, what there is, Deborah, is this break software. And I wish they had it at my agency to remind you to take a break, because being type A, I would just keep on working. And then when I wasn't doing my agency work, I do my union work. So that's what I wish I knew, as well as varying positions. And I felt really good. Now I'm going back to work and seeing some of my younger colleagues standing up every so often when they work. And that's really good to change positions. But to me, the major thing is to break break it up. Don't keep on doing this over and over again. Because when I typed, when I was young in the Navy as a yeoman, I would get to the end of the page, and then you have to raise it and everything. Now this is continuous stuff, and it's just really a pain in the butt. So that's a major problem. As mentioned, I hope everybody will read your books. And what I would hope everyone will do is when you become injured, whatever you have, learn as much about the injury as possible and really talk to other people, because you're not alone. And unfortunately, it's closed down, but we used to have an RSI support group, which you spoke to, Deborah. And to me, dealing with other people who are injured, recognizing that other people are having the same issue that you're having, is really important, that you're not alone. But I appreciate, again, everything that you're doing, because I really think knowledge is power. And the
Yes.
more people know about RSI, and the more they can learn, because I tell people I'm not cured, I just cope. Really try to learn, because when you're getting sick, you're not really paying attention. But try to learn so you don't get sick, so you don't end up like me, so you can't drive, so you can't basically open a door or open a package, or things like that, or open a bag of potato chips, things that you may do long after you work.